What's up, otakus? How you guys doing? Well, Yed and I just, it was a long day. Um, I picked up Jens early in the morning, and we drove straight up to Vancouver. Got there kind of a little bit early, like an hour and a half early. We went and got breakfast nearby, kind of just a nice little breakfast, nice little chat, a little, you know, a good morning. Um, yeah, we just kind of gathered our bearings there right before at a restaurant, and then walked over and waited a couple minutes, maybe like 10, 20 minutes for it to actually open. And then we were in. And yeah, spent pretty much most of the day looking for books. And we were at the con for until about 3:30, I want to say. Then we left and headed to a comic book shop nearby in Bremerton. So we hit up two spots. One, the main con, and then we went to a comic book shop across the border. So we kind of headed down before we really hit the evening traffic, and got across back into the US. And then, of course, there was another shop open till like 7 p.m. We got there around 5. Spent a good 2 hours there and picked up a lot of good stuff at this shop. We could have picked up more, but picked up some good stuff there. Not a lot, actually. I only picked up a couple books, but yeah, let's go over what we picked up. I will say this. We took some high expectations going into West Coast City Comic Con. And because I had been to this particular con like 2 years ago, I was kind of assuming things would kind of be the same. But there were two really notable differences. One is the number of people at this con. The venue and the size and everything stayed the same. Even the number of vendors kind of stayed the same. There's only so many vendors you can pack into this small space. But the nice thing is it's mostly comic vendors. So there were a lot of comics available. But again, the number of people at the event, way more people than there were last time. I would say probably double the number of people from 2 years ago. And the second thing was the prices. Generally, the prices were kind of like right around book value, and then you could kind of negotiate down and then get that Canadian exchange rate discount. If you kind of add it up like that, it ends up being you're getting a very good value out of any book, really. And they had a lot of $2 Canadian books there too. So, if we had spent time digging in the bargain bins, I'm sure we could have come up with a lot of stuff. But Jens and I were really going up there with the intent of picking up a big book, something like just one book back, And we spent I'd say the morning just going around, seeing what people had, maybe, and even digging in some of the boxes. And to be honest, and you're going to kind of see what the scenario was, but everything was overpriced. Oh my gosh. It just wasn't even funny how overpriced things were. And it's like every vendor had decided like, oh, you know what, on wall books, we're just going to kind of like jack up the price on all the wall books. And then have people talk us down, right? So like, but even when you get talked down from an overpriced book, you're essentially getting talked down into what its book value is anyway. So given that landscape, it was just like that across the board. It was like just a lot of overpriced stuff. Um, I mean, if you dug, you might have found some good stuff. And Jens and I both we had left some stuff there. In hindsight, we were probably like, man, we should have picked that up. But in the heat of like, do I need this? Do I need that? Like, what am I looking for? In the heat of all that, it's sometimes tough to like think, okay, this is what I should pick up and this is what I shouldn't. But it was like 2 o'clock and I hadn't even bought anything yet. Like we had spent a good 4 hours there. I hadn't bought anything. Jens hadn't bought anything. And we were just kind of like, man, there's just nothing here worth buying. At least not something we would actually pay for that amount. But we're going to get into what I got, and we'll kind of talk about it again. The books I ended up getting were from the guy who kind of had the stuff I wanted, and again, he wouldn't really budge much on price. But again, with the Canadian exchange rate and all that, I feel like we didn't get it wasn't a horrible time. It was kind of lackluster. And I don't feel there's just only one book I really feel good about picking up today. And we'll get to that. But overall, like, it was a lot of just kind of like reluctant, I guess we'll get this. And that's never a good thing, especially when you've been hyping up an event all summer. Like, this was going to be the pinnacle or the peak of the summer activities. And we're expecting to bring back all this like stuff on our wish list and all this. And it ended up being quite the opposite. And so let's get into what I picked up. And I think you guys will see kind of what I'm referring to. Just nothing really spectacular from this haul, unfortunately. I don't want to say it was like a complete kind of failure, but it just didn't feel like it was like we didn't get the maximum satisfaction out of this. So I'm going to start with a book that's pretty much the sort of the book we want to forget, the book of the regret. It's this book, and this is the book. So I picked this up because it was like $3. It was sitting in there for $3. And to be honest, like this book, if there weren't any issues with this book, $3 for this book would be a smoking deal. But I picked this up and I realized, oh, well, some kid drew in this little slant. I didn't even see that. And then more closely, he also colored in the S here. So if S is supposed to be yellow, he just ballpoint pen colored the S there in black. So it's got, yeah, this is just a book. I think it's just a nothing book. I mean, I'll keep it in the collection, but we definitely want to get this in a better copy. And yeah, it's unfortunate. Beautiful Kurt Swan cover. Yeah, it's a beautiful cover. It's just the condition and all that. It just felt like, man, I just blew money on this. Like this was just a wasted $3. Now we did bundle this and get kind of a little bit of a discount, and I'll talk about that. But yeah, it was from that one vendor. This one we picked up for $2, $2 Canadian dollars, so that wasn't too bad. This is a Jim Lee Wildcats book that I didn't have, so that's cool. We picked up another Jim Lee Wildcats book there. Pretty cool cover of the new team there from the 2000s. That's kind of cool. We finally picked up this cover. This is a cover we'd been kind of like in the hunt for, and just never ran across it. But now we finally have this fantastic Wildstorm #1 variant, Jim Lee variant. Pretty cool Jim Lee cover there. And then this was a cool pickup for $2. So we had a lot of, some cool $2 pickups here. Marvel Age #70, John Byrne, She-Hulk there. She-Hulk, you've come to join the West Coast Avengers? Nah, I just came to use the beach. So, just good stuff right there from John Byrne. John Byrne, She-Hulk, beach-going She-Hulk. We love that. This one we also picked up for $3. It's got an issue there on the top, and it could use a press. It's kind of like rough around. You can see there it hasn't been pressed or anything yet. Pretty decent copy. Again, for $3, I feel like this was well worth that. It's not terrible grade. It's not low grade or anything. For $3, Bob Oxner, Lois Lane there. It's a pretty cool book. And again, we got this as part of a bundle deal. So I'll talk about the bundle deal as we get to the books. This was half off cover. So $6, $6 Canadian dollars, not too bad. This is a book we'd been meaning to add as well. And again, I just like, this is kind of the condition I like. I mean, $6 is a little bit more than what we'd like to spend on this book. But all in all, I mean, it is, in terms of the value, that's what you'd kind of pay for a low grade book from this Lois Lane. And Lois Lane, this is just like a really nice Lois Lane book. It's got sort of this ridiculous scenario where they're testing his heart meter to see if it leans Lois or Lana. It's a kind of, we love stuff like this. And this has been on my wish list or want list for a while now. So to get this grade for $6, that just felt like a win. So again, pick that up. All right, well, let's continue to introduce stuff before we get into the bulk deals and whatnot. So yeah, this was there for $20. And it was, again, part of that bundle deal. So I'll talk about what that bundle deal is. This is, it's, if you look at the spine, you could argue it's a low grade book. The book itself, not terrible. You got a crease there. You got some creasing there. And again, the spine is really rough. So, like $20 for this kind of feels a little high in Canadian dollars, kind of high, but at the same time, not. It's kind of what you'd expect to pay, especially with this beautiful Neil Adams Batman Green Arrow cover. That's just classic stuff right there by Neil Adams. So, I think this is also like the first appearance of the redesigned Bronze Age Green Arrow suit that apparently made the character a lot more popular during this era. But yeah, just a classic Brave and the Bold Neil Adams cover there. Paid $20, but again, with the bundle, it came out to less, so we'll get into that. This is from the shop from Bellingham. And the Bellingham shop surprisingly had a lot of good priced out stuff. And so, yeah, we spent quite a bit there. And this was one of the books we picked up. Again, $4 for Silver Age. This is a really decent condition book too. It's not terrible. Um, I mean, it is kind of like a reader's grade copy, but as you can see, um, not terrible. You know, it's actually decent with the press and everything. This clean and a press, this would look fantastic. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna probably hand this over to Jens and see what he can do with it. But that should be a nice book. And I love this lion, Superman and the lion cover. Um, this is sort of the lion is like a motif that returns throughout this era of Silver Age Superman. He appears a couple times, right? But this is really the one where he's kind of featured transforming and all that. So um, nice ad for $4 to the collection again. I just felt like this we were talking about like, man, we should have just bought stuff here. You know what I mean? We should have just bought reserved our dollars for the Bellingham, because the Bellingham shop had a lot of value. It had a lot of good books. It had almost as better keys and books than the show. So the show didn't feel like we were getting a deal, you know. And had this $4 book been like a Canadian dollar book at Bellingham, that would have been even better. But of course, we were back in the U.S., so these were actual U.S. dollars. But yeah, the Bellingham shop also had this. It's a newsstand of Nova #1. This is the first appearance and origin of Nova. And it was sitting in there for $9. And to be honest, like that's lower. That pricing is like would put it in the low grade, but this is far from low grade. This is actually a very nice mid-grade copy. So in a mid-grade copy, we just got a fantastic deal on Nova #1. So this felt like another big win, getting like a undervalued, really major key here in terms of characters. So yeah, the first appearance of Nova there, Bronze Age, big book there for $9. So yeah, that was a nice pickup there. And this is the big book we picked up at the Vancouver, Canada show. I mean, this has been on my wish list for a long time. It's Baby Lois Lane. Baby Lois. The fool, doesn't he know I'm Lois Lane, turned into a baby by accident? How dare he date my rival Lana Lang? And she's thrown a block at him. Yeah, it's just again fantastic stuff. Now I kind of gave the guy a hard time because he wouldn't budge on the price, and I was kind of like, look, you've obviously overpriced this, right? $60 for arguably a low grade book, right? Is just overpriced. And this is the kind of pricing you saw. You just saw people not pricing to grade, just taking liberties to go a little above a book value, you know, on a book. And everybody were basically, you know, you'd walk around, they'd be like, oh, we're flexible on pricing. And I hate that. I hate when people like overprice their stuff and say they're flexible on pricing. It's, you know, it just makes me not want to engage with you at all to, you know what I mean? Like, I have to talk you down on an overpriced book. No, I have better things to do with my time. Either price it and come down from there, like price it more fairly and come down from there. but don't sit there and make. I mean, this, to be honest, this is probably at best a $30 book, right? US dollars, $30 book. Um, and had he priced it at like 50, and I talked him down to 40, that's something I could do. But I even, when I said, hey, would you take 40 on this? He said, no, 50 is as low as I can go. And, when you take that kind of attitude, it's just like, all right, well, I'm not going to get the book, right? But I did want this book. So we ended up kind of bundling this. And I'll tell you what I paid for this bundle here. So this is a bundle of like 5 books here. Again, 3, 6, 12. That's 42. $102 here in Canadian dollars. Right here, 5 books. And he gave it to us for 75 Canadian dollars. So as a bundle, again, kind of overpaying for everything in terms of what it's priced. But he did knock off some value there to give us a little bit of a discount, 75. Again, it didn't feel like I was getting a deal or anything. It just felt, and so $75 US is like 50 something, right? It's like $50. And not that that's terrible. It's actually decent. So if you're paying 50, I like to frame things in like what I would like to have paid. So 30, this we probably overpaid. This should have been maybe 10, right? Or 15, right? So 30, 45, and then these other books will just bundle as 5. So if I frame it that way, we paid, again, US dollars, obviously not Canadian dollars. We paid 40 is kind of 30 is what we wanted to pay for this. So 30 plus 15 plus 5 for that. It's kind of the way I want to just frame it, so I don't feel like I got taken advantage of, which I think probably did get taken advantage of. Again, all these other ones, $2, that was good. $2 Canadian dollars, that's good. $2. So $2 Canadian dollars, that's essentially almost a little over $1 for the book. So that wasn't crazy. $4 for that, very, very, got a lot of value out of that. And again, $9 for this. Whew. This one, again, like a mid-grade First Nova. This one feels like, yeah, we got lucky with that one. That was a no-brainer. I don't even collect Nova, but I was just like, no, I'm not leaving First Nova for $9 in a mid-grade here. So this was like one of those things that not on my wish list, not really something I was hoping to pick up or anything, but that's the power of Unmyo. When you run across First Nova for $9, you kind of got to pick it up. But here is our book of the haul, and this is we paid $50. We talked the guy down to giving to us for $50, and he agreed. So we paid $50 for this modern book. It is a Jim Lee dark side cover, and this is the coolest part of it. It's like he signs it Jim Lee after Kirby, and then there's Alex Sinclair who did the coloring on this, and it's just one of these like really neat, very neat covers here of Dark Side. There's Dark Side's a lot of great covers, but I think this just kind of propelled itself to the top of my Dark Side, I guess, short list of Dark Side covers that are really fantastic. So yeah, for $50, this one, the guy gave us the down low on this. This was signed at the time this came out, because this is like, I think, a convention exclusive variant. So it kind of came out during one of the conventions, and it got signed at New York City Comic Con during the whole DCKO thing. So I want to say this was like, what, from last summer? Yeah, New York City Comic Con from last year. And again, just a beautiful Jim Lee cover of Dark Side there. So that is our book of the haul. And yeah, we spent pretty much our, thank you. Nice. Yeah, I like the placement. It's a nice little flair. Jim Lee, he took the time to kind of make everything look nice with the little flare tail on the L and the I dotted there. Yeah, great placement, great, it pops. And again, just a fantastic Dark Side cover. Try to get everything into focus. Why isn't it focusing? It doesn't want to focus anymore. Maybe I got to do this. I got to turn it off and then just turn it on again. Let's see if that works. Like that again. All right, so that doesn't help. Oh, there it goes. It auto-focused itself. Okay, so yeah, where are the scissors from? I don't know. I think I picked them up at like Daiso or somewhere. So yeah, that's our haul. There's some value here. There's some again, first Nova, that's a big pickup, feels like a big pup. Again, nothing here that like I feel like is like, they're all little wins, they're all like nice books to add to my collection. They are all pretty cool books, but nothing really to write home about, unfortunately. And that's the thing that's kind of disappointing. It's like we were expecting to pick up something. I mean, this is a big book. I've been wanting that. I kind of want to like own this in a slab as well, like a higher grade copy. So I don't know, if you think this is slab worthy, I guess we could consider it. I do love this book. This is probably one of my favorite Lois Lane books in the collection now. So again, it is a book I've been wanting. I just felt a little, again, the pricing wasn't that fair. Again, in this grade, it's look at it. It's not a true mid grade, but he had it priced fairly high. But yeah, again, we spent money, we got books we wanted, but it just didn't feel like it was like a victory, like we came back with the value, kind of what you would expect to pay. There's just nothing here that's like, outside of that Nova book. That Nova book for $9 was a great pickup, because again, in that grade, it's like it should be a $50 book. Really undervalued to begin with, let alone with the deal we got today. So yeah, it is what it is. And we had fun. Jens and I had fun going up there. And again, it didn't meet our full like expectation, because we had gone in with some really high expectations for this event. And it was just like whatever, you know. I think we're a little disappointed with the show itself, considering we paid 15 bucks to get in, um, and that didn't feel like it yielded anything, right? It didn't. We didn't. It didn't help us buy books or anything. And Jens actually only ended up picking up one book from, or maybe two books from the con, and then a couple books. He didn't pick up much at all. So yeah, and if it weren't for this Jim Lee book, I don't think, again, if we didn't stop into the Bremerton, or the, what is it, the Bellingham shop, if we didn't stop into the Bellingham shop, I wouldn't have walked away with like these additional books, which really felt like the sorry, you can't see the books, but these extra books, these were the ones from the Bellingham books. Like if I didn't walk out with like these two today, it would have felt, the Vancouver event would have felt more just sort of vacuous, you know, just like it wasn't worthwhile to go there. But again, we did pick up cool Neil Adams book, and again this beautiful, lovely Lois Lane book. So again, uh, we got some things off our wish list. I just wish I had maybe spent a little bit less on some of this stuff, but it is what it is. You know, the signed book, that one, yeah, you know, $50 for this signed book was uh, a good deal for Jim Lee, especially on like a cool cover like this. You don't see this every day, so that was just nice. That was a nice pickup there, but yeah, all in all, decent. Nothing to write home about. Yeah, I feel like, you know, sometimes with the pricing here that you see at these shows, you know, they price things. Again, there was just a lot of overpriced, you know, and the keys were just your standard show key. There wasn't anything like, you know, no one was selling really Golden Age Superman. I mean, they had Golden Age Superman there, but way overpriced, way out of my. They did have the Supergirl book I was looking for, the one with all the first appearances, and the one where she's like just kind of towering over like a giant over all the Legionnaires and everything. That one was $375. So it was, and he wasn't taking trade books, so it was like a non-starter. I couldn't even get that book if I wanted. I didn't have enough money. Um, but that's a book where, you know, that was kind of high on our list. And had I had cash, had I had $300 or sold more books, probably would have come back with me um, through negotiation and whatnot. But yeah, just kind of a down. I don't want to say it's a downer, but we kind of end the summer on like a like a down note, I guess. Yeah, it just kind of, Jens and I came back. We're just kind of like, we're tired. It was whatever's. You know, we didn't feel like it was great. It was just whatever's, and yeah, I'm selling that bind. Yeah, they'd rarely because the guys, we I think Jens had mentioned he didn't bring any trade books because he felt like none of the people were there were going to be serious about picking up stuff or trading for stuff. And yeah, I didn't ask too many people if they were looking for trades, but that seemed to be the consensus at this show. No one was really in the mood to give you offers for your stuff, especially like if you had a certain pricing in mind for your books. They weren't going to trade, you know. They wanted to get value if they're going to trade away stuff they're trying to sell, right? So you're absolutely right, Warlock. It was a poor environment to try and conduct trades because I don't think that I don't think anybody was in a mindset for trading. Um, anyway, I got a book I'm selling tomorrow morning to a guy, so hopefully that goes through. That has to go through because I kind of spent his money thinking that would come through tomorrow. So yeah, we'll sell that book, and then this is it. This is kind of like the last thing we had on the summer. You know, I know Jens and I are going to go on probably tomorrow, but my family gets back on Tuesday, and I imagine I'm going to be incognito for a little bit um, from the channel. We'll see, but you know, family's back. I gotta just focus on spending time there and not doing as much on YouTube. But once we get back into the swing of things, and you know, like school starts, and yeah, we get into the rhythm of getting back into the flow of school weekends and preparing for the end of the year. Yeah, it should be. I should pop back on at some point, and you know, we still have Grid City. I don't know if I'm going to have any budget for that show, but I'm still going to be trying to sell stuff off Facebook Marketplace, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'll try to do weekend streams. I have just like there's a whole crew here: Layla, Warlock, and JC. Yeah, I'll try to do weekends streams, and you know, we'll try to do joint streams and stuff like we normally do. So we'll have more content coming for you. But it's been a fun summer. I think one thing Jens and I kind of were talking about today is like really shows aren't necessarily the best outlet for books, because you got to realize like a lot of these shows are just collectors like you and me who are trying to get rid of books, and they're going to be they're going to take liberties with the pricing, right? They're not going to be totally transparent about grade. And, you know, in those instances, they're really just trying to get rid of books. And if the books were really worth keeping, they'd keep them, right? So it just begs the question, like, what's wrong with the book? And if it's priced, you know, to go, like if it's cheap, if it's a couple bucks or whatever, I mean, then there's no real harm or foul. But it's when you take those books that should just go for a few dollars and you try to get the maximum value out of them, that's when it starts to feel like, man, like, you know, I'd rather go to my local comic book shop and just buy things there at book value. At least, at least I'm supporting my local comic book shop, not some, guy trying to just offload books and take advantage of people. So that's just kind of what this show felt like. It just felt like a lot of people who don't really do like the traditional, brick and mortar comic shop. You just have these like sort of roaming, venturing hobbyists that have a crap load of books they can make money selling on the weekends or garage sales or wherever, like whatever little opportunity there is to like set up a table or sell things, you know. I'm sure it's worth their while to pay like $100 to just be able to plop your books down where there's a lot of foot traffic and sell some books. But yeah, I think what Jens and I learned is that you can take money to a show like this and have all the expectations that you're going to get some value and pick up some good books and whatnot, um, and then there's the notion of like you can have better luck just going to your local comic book store and digging through what just came in a collection, right? So um, it all depends. And I think the LCS angle is like the LCS is a business. They're not trying to offload stuff, their worst stuff to you. They're trying to offload everything, good, bad, and middle. So you're oftentimes going to find good deals and things. So that's kind of what the takeaway. It's like we both agreed, like, man, this shop is much better. We're getting better stuff. We're finding more stuff, getting better stuff here than we are at the show, and that's unfortunate because now it just makes us a little more reticent to like jump into a show, and that's the way we felt about FenCom too. FenCom, as great as it was, the pricing wasn't great. And kind of the same thing, like people are just coming with stuff they wanted to offload. So that's a good thing about FenCom. We have people offloading stuff, and I had trade stuff, and you can kind of work together deals and whatnot. But definitely the crowd in the Vancouver. I mean, there were collectors that wanted to trade for sure. I engaged with several collectors. They're like, hey, you want to trade books? And they're like, yeah. And then we're talking, and he's like, oh, well, my books are, at my place. And then you're like, well, we're here from out of town. We're here from Seattle. So he's like, oh, okay. So you guys are going back down. So we couldn't really get anything locally, like had he been local, we probably would have met up after the show or something. But just one of those logistical things where like, we're going back down. You don't have your books, so no trade can take place unless we come all the way back up here, or you come all the way back down, or you come all the way down to where we are. But yeah, it was an interesting time today in Canada, Vancouver. We probably will not be doing West Coast City Comic Con anytime soon, because I feel like, again, the Canadian exchange discount is a real thing, but if you're not getting good pricing on books, if they're elevating all the pricing on books above book value, and that's what it was at this Canada show. It just was a lot of, I don't know if they were doing that because they were taking into account the exchange rate this time. Like they're actually saying like, well, yeah, that's what it is in US dollar. This is what it should cost in Canadian dollars. And I don't know if that's what they were doing now as Canadian dealers, kind of taking into the exchange rate into their pricing. But that's what it felt like. I kind of feel like the Canadian discount thing with regards to pricing is just gone now. Because it used to be like, this book here in the US is $1. Well, guess what? In Canada, we're going to price it for a Canadian dollar, and just so it carries like equal weight in terms of the pricing, but with the exchange rate, you're getting a discount. Well, it seems like now this dollar here, Canadian sellers are like, well, this is actually should be $1.50. And then when you take in the exchange rate, then you're not really getting much value there at all. So that is it. That is pretty much today in a nutshell. Picked up a couple nice books, but nothing fantastic or spectacular. but you know, some very nice books nonetheless, and uh, nice editions, especially this one. This is such a this is such a neat book here. Lois Lane 10. Baby Lois. Baby Lois. All right. Well, that is it for me, guys. Thanks for hanging out, watching, and we'll be doing more of this sometime soon. So stay tuned, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out.